Hey guys, it's Sarah Joy. Today I want to talk to you about how to make your own kombucha from home that tastes really great and is actually good for you. Okay, so the very first thing that you need in order to make kombucha is something called the SCOBY. It is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Now it looks really weird. It's basically like an alien blob, and this is my my glass jar of tea that's been fermenting for about a week, and you can see the SCOBY that has grown on top. You need to start out with growing your first SCOBY. If you don't have a friend that has an extra one that makes their own, you can actually grow it yourself from scratch. And what you'll need is you'll need to go to the store and buy a bottle of unflavored kombucha. The GTS brand is known for being a good SCOBY starter. So if you find the GTS unsweetened, unflavored kombucha, you're going to use that. And then basically the process that we're about to do. So basically you're going to repeat the process that I'm going to show you how to do if you already have a SCOBY, but you're just going to wait a week in order to see your first SCOBY, and then you'll wait another week in order to make your first kombucha. Okay, so what you're gonna need for your first round of kombucha is some black tea bags. I use the bigger size that are meant to make iced tea. So you'll need 2 to 3 of these, and then you're gonna do 14 cups of water with that. So you're gonna steep the tea in a total of 14 cups of water, but I do have a hack for that not taking as much time. And then also you just need some sugar. I'm using some organic cane sugar. We're gonna put that into the tea. And then you're gonna use 2 cups of unflavored kombucha. So I'm gonna just reserve 2 cups from this round that I made and use it in my next batch. If this is your very first round, you're just trying to make the SCOBY, you can just half this recipe. So you're gonna use half the tea, half the cups of water, half the sugar, and half the kombucha starter. So you'll just use 1 cup of kombucha starter from the bottle. You'll use half of the tea bags, and then half a cup of sugar. Okay, so 2 important things to note is you need to use filtered water whenever you're making your kombucha starters. And then also the SCOBY is going to be very fragile, so you need to make sure that the new tea that you're putting in is absolutely room temperature. If it's too cold or if it's too hot, it can damage your SCOBY. So just make sure that it's completely cooled off to room temperature before you start. Okay, so up close, here is my kombucha. It's been growing for about a week. So this tea is fermented, it's ready for second fermentation, and then here is the SCOBY that has grown on top. So this one grew in a week. Now your first SCOBY will probably not look like this. It's gonna be a lot more translucent. Kind of like these pieces that you see floating around here, something like this. Okay, I just finished boiling some water and took it off of the burner, and I'm gonna start making some tea. I'm using just 3 of these black tea bags, and they're like the size to make iced tea. But if you're using the smaller tea bags, you might need to use like 8 of them or so in order to get it right. I have about 6 cups of water right here. You're gonna need a total of about 14, but it just makes sense to boil a small amount and make the tea steep and make it really strong, and then blend it with the other room temperature water so that it cools off much faster. Okay, so the tea's been steeping, and now I'm whisking in the sugar. All right, so this is all at room temperature, and I'm just gonna go ahead, and my SCOBY is in there. I'm gonna fill it all the way back up. You don't want this to be airtight at all, so I'm going to secure it with a paper towel and a rubber band on top, and then I just stick it underneath the sink. You want it in a room temperature, not too cold, not too hot, and dark area. So I stick it under the sink for literally 1 week, and then come back to it, and you should see another layer of SCOBY that has built up on the top. Okay, so I have poured out my kombucha into these airtight bottles, which is the next step, and we're gonna begin to flavor them. Make sure that you save 2 cups of your original kombucha starter for your next round. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this to the side. Okay, so the bottles are gonna be really important. You need to make sure that they're the airtight ones that look like this. They have this little locking mechanism on top, and they make sure to completely seal your jar. Once it opens, it will release a ton of pressure and pop open. You want to fill it up around here with your tea, because you're still going to add a little bit more flavoring, and then you want like the neck portion of it to be free, so that there's room for all the carbonation that's going to build up. I'm going to add a little bit to one of my other bottles that's not as full. This is what it looks like when it's finished. You can see I just threw some blueberries in here for some flavor, and so I'll just take them out. I won't like drink them or anything afterwards. So what you need in order to flavor the kombucha once you're ready is, first of all, I add some maple syrup to each one, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. If you feel like your kombucha tastes nasty whenever you try it after it's been sitting for a few days and it has the right carbonation and everything, it just doesn't taste good, you probably just need to add some more sugar to your liking. So just make sure that you add some of that. I'm using, again, organic maple syrup, but you could also use honey. I like to flavor each one of these bottles differently. That's part of the fun to me. I like to see which one turns out the best. So I kind of use whatever I have on hand, but I am peeling some ginger right now that I'm gonna put into one. I'm gonna do like probably a ginger lemon combo. I kind of like that, but also ginger and blueberry is so good. I've actually gotten a lot of comments that people really like that one. So I'll probably do one that's ginger blueberry, and I'm gonna do one that's mostly just an apple base, and I'll finish off with a blueberry cinnamon, which is also really good. So you can get fancy with this and actually just go ahead and put your ingredients into the juicer and kind of get them into a liquid state before you add them in. I kind of don't bother with that. I just stick them in small enough pieces where it will just fall out whenever I pour it, because it doesn't really bother me to like fish out one piece at the very beginning. Don't mind this piece of hair. Okay, so I cut my ginger into little pieces. I'll go ahead and start off with this one. I'm gonna do two that have ginger. So I'm just gonna stick little pieces of it. I squeezed some lemon juice right here. So this is gonna be my lemon ginger. Nice. And I'm gonna seal this one up. Right, and then ginger blueberry. It's gonna make it a lot darker, kind of like this one. You can see it's definitely more red. So it is gonna soak up all the flavor, and then the berries come out super easily. Okay, so added a few there. Then, one of my favorites is apple. And for this one, super easy, I'm just gonna use some apple juice. And then the last one, blueberry cinnamon. And this one sounds crazy, but it's actually so good. Okay, so for second fermentation, you're gonna take all of these bottles and put them to the side, again, at room temperature. I have always put them under my counter, but apparently it's better to leave them in a windowsill because they get more exposure to sunlight or whatever, and it helps the carbonation process. But you're gonna put them away for about 3 days, and then they'll be good to serve. Okay, so that is all you need to know in order to make your own kombucha. I hope you try it and really like it. And remember, if you don't like it, add more sugar or maple syrup, because that's probably what's missing. Let me know if you try it. Other than that, see you next time.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.